Hello and thanks for joining us. Today I'm joined by my guests from Veya, John McCauley, he's the CEO of Veya, Jason Howarth, founder and chief product officer, and Hannah Lloyd-Jones, who is the marketing manager. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Nice to meet you, David.
Now, I know that you're all hiding your kerfuffle merch somewhere.
Yeah, we've got it.
Don't be afraid to put it on, guys. Don't be afraid. There you go.
I like it.
It's very fetching, very fetching. But to be serious once again, it's fortuitous that we are talking right now because recent press has shown us that there are changes in regulation and legislation within the estate agency world, but particularly for people that have been selling properties or even letting properties one way for a long time. They are now going to have to do something more. So there has been rumblings that material information needs to be disclosed upfront to a buyer. And we have, as estate agents now, we've historically been reliant on the buyer doing their own due diligence. We provided very little information. You were lucky if we gave you the door number and the postcode to the house. But we wouldn't necessarily go into great detail. And now the onus is going to be on estate agents to provide a great deal of upfront information. We can no longer hide behind the solicitors will deal with that further down the line. And how great is it to be able to talk to people from Veya today about a product that provides a great deal of material information upfront, and is able to provide estate agents with easy analysis. So is this news that you've been expecting for a while? Has this been on the jungle drums beating? Have you heard it before?
Yeah, we've been involved in quite a lot of the forums around this information as well. And I think, Jason's original concept was from his estate agency background, how it would help getting that material information to speed up the transactions for himself as an estate agent. And I think, from a compliance aspect, then Veya can certainly speed up a lot of that information gathering for agents. So, yeah, it was certainly one of our angles when we've decided the routes that Veya was going to take.
So, in a nutshell, could one of you just summarize Veya's proposition for estate agents?
I'll take that one, David. So, Veya obviously unearths information that ultimately, by understanding this, David, it puts you in a position of differentiation because you know that much more than the next. So the proposition is, by having that information, Veya helps you win the instruction in the first place. And obviously from a sales progression element, David, it's invaluable because, like you've just mentioned, you're not just giving it to the conveyancer as a cold start. So, some of our agents have seen some considerable reduction in that end-to-end journey time from a sales progression.
And hitherto, there's been this sort of veil of mystique over anything to do with title deeds, and we almost advised, oh, don't look at those. Only the solicitors can analyze those. Only they can extract the information from it, because some of those do go back quite a way, and they're written in a way that it needs a little bit of plain speak in order for the rest of us to understand it. But I believe your product is able to highlight the material bits of the title deeds and provide that analysis.
It does, David. So this was one of the, as being an agent myself, that I realised there's a lot of, you're right, there's a lot of legal information in that, and Veya's very clear in the sort of line it draws at the minute. But there's information that's absolutely pertinent and relevant to an estate agent. However, the challenge is transposing that sort of legal jargon into the layman terms that an agent can easily understand and can easily convey that to their vendors and buyers as well. So that's kind of at the heart of Veya. It simplifies it so anybody can understand it.
And would you say that is the main USP of your product?
Yes, ultimately, David, because let's be honest, the conveyancer will do this at a much deeper level, but they're trying to satisfy different criteria in terms of making sure that the lender's interest is protected, etc. But there's nothing, when I was an agent and still today, there was nothing out there that was doing this level of analysis on the title register that even before we've walked through the front door.
So well, that was going to be my next question. If there are similar products out there, because if there are, I get to see quite a bit of it. I've never seen one that specifically focuses on this angle.
Yeah, I was going to jump in on that one actually. So, you know, in terms of our USP, what we offer is truly innovative. There are other prop tech solutions that are offering similar benefits in terms of speeding up sales progression, reducing fall throughs and all those kind of things. But in terms of what we do, the depth of the title deed analysis is truly unique. So what we're finding as we're looking at these different prop tech companies is that what we offer is truly complementary to that. So we're actually finding we're having conversations with a lot of potential partners as well, because yeah, what we do, it really kind of has that unique aspect to it. So
just in terms of the life cycle of an estate agent, we all know, you know, from the minute that the phone rings and somebody says, right, can you come out and value number 3 Smith Street? When does Veya come into the picture? How early should I, as an agent, be engaging with it, be using that information to perhaps wow my vendors in terms of the amount of upfront research I'm willing to do? Where do you suggest that agents bring it in?
Straight away. You know, ideally pre-valuation, having that information and be armed with it in the living room is certainly a bonus to essentially help sell to the potential vendor that you can speed their transaction up, but also, you know, you can spot initial potential risks in that sale, and you can use it to look at your fees as well. You know, Veya will identify whether the property is going to ultimately be quite an issue to sell. Yeah. So having that information up front will give you that edge over other agents in the living room. That's when we see the benefit to come in first off.
I appreciate the intricacies of title deeds. They're very different, you know, from property to property and area to area. You've got certain risks in certain areas that we don't have in others, such as, you know, flood risks and all the other stuff. But typically speaking, what information is it that an estate agent is getting when they log onto your system and they select an address?
Yeah, sorry. So what Veya does, it's pulling out the key points that could cause a problem. And in some terms, David, those could be quite simple, but they can easily be missed. So for example, it knows that the surnames are different in proprietorship. So straight away, if we're having that coffee table moment and I'm looking around the living room and I see some wedding photos, it's either likely they got married. So, okay, I can see you got married. Let's get your marriage certificate. The conveyancer is going to need it. Let's get that on, you know, let's get that upfront information. It can understand that the title, in terms of titles, there's various, we've got absolute title, we've got possessory titles. And that has a material impact, David, in that if I go to a property and say it's got possessory title, when I get the buyer coming along, we can understand now that not all lenders are, you know, will be comfortable with a possessory title or we're likely to need indemnities. So if, you know, if little Johnny comes with his decision in principle, we can look at that and go, okay, there's likely to be an issue with that lender lending. Let's have a conversation with the broker now and get you the right lender who will accept this title. So these type of things, David, start to save weeks, because otherwise we're going all the way down the journey and then the lender's saying, yeah, I'm sorry, we're not going to lend against that, or one of the reasons. So it's these type of kind of high level topics that just allow an agent to get an upper level. And if you sat in the living room and you understand that, as a vendor, you know, there's been some jaw-dropping moments, is what the feedback we're getting from agents, and the vendor saying, God, how do you know? How do you know this? How do you know I've sold part of my garden off to the house behind? How do you even know that? Well, that's why we're a 2% agent. And this is where it's kind of eliciting itself. But obviously, David, then that can be passed straight to the sales progression team, who have got the upper leg on it then. So we understand some of these challenges that we're going to have before we get there.
It also allows you to fully understand the property you're selling right from the beginning as well. So you don't have that, oh, I wish I'd only known that. months down the line. And again, with the recent government's levelling up white paper, it means that we can be more transparent with our potential buyers as well, because again, you truly understand the property that you're selling.
I think putting that confidence into the process a lot earlier by using Veya.
And listening to all three of you talk about it, the thing as an estate agent that's going through my mind is that there is a certain element of being an estate agent when you're stood in somebody's living room. We're all blagging it at some point or another. You rock up there, you may call yourself a local expert, you know the area, you may have sold a neighbour's property, and you might remember, if you're lucky, that you had a slight issue with possessory title or one portion of a garden, whatever it may have been. But the truth is, we handle that many transactions because our game is a volume game. We need to get through lots of it. But I've been in the game for 25 years, and if you were to ask me if I remember every transaction, I would love to tell you that I do, and I don't. But I would love to be able to go into a living room, and I like to think that I sell myself as being an expert, somebody that knows the ins and outs of both the area, but also is able to understand the properties. But there's a lot of guesswork that goes into it. And to be able to turn up in that living room with the guesswork taken out of entirely. So I know my values because I've done that research. I also know what issues are likely to come up because I've used your product. But I can also say this is the difference between me. This becomes a key differentiator between me and every other estate agent you've seen this week that has called themselves an expert. But here's the true information, and I bet nobody else has given you this info. And I can believe, because there was a time when I could do that with a title plan. I'd walk in and go, look, that's your plot right there. And they go, oh, no one else has bothered to do that. But we're beyond that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Veya will unearth things like, so for example, where I was an agent, David, was sort of semi-rural. So we'd go, it wasn't uncommon to go to a property and they would have also bought a 1 acre piece of land and an outbuilding. So Veya understands that those are linked. So we can have the conversation, sit in the room and say, it's great. Can I ask you what, with your 1 acre, what you're doing with the 1 acre, are you selling it? And they're like, oh, how do you know I've got 1 acre of land? How do you know I've got an outbuilding? And it's just, that level of confidence, like you say, because if the next 2 or 3 agents walking in behind you don't even mention any of this, let's be honest, you're more than likely to get the instruction right.
Yeah. I would like to think so. I think that vendors are impressed when when it's clear that you've taken the trouble to research their own situation. They know that you're not getting paid at that point, and that it's all speculative. But if you put in that work up front, I think they are a bit more impressed because that's what they want. That's what they're paying for, and that's where the added value is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how easy is it for an agent to begin using this? So I'm not using it today. What's your onboarding process like, and how soon could an agent be rolling it out?
Super simple onboarding, David. We from call to up and running, sort of circa an hour.
Wow.
Literally.
Okay.
It is very straightforward. The Veya is offered via a web. So web interface, and we've got full API. So we've got some agents who are APIing in as well. And again, that is a very simple and straightforward process. And once you're in the website of platform, all Veya asks is just for a house number or name and a postcode. That is it. They're the only 2 pieces of information we need.
And how quickly does it sort of produce the information that I'm looking for? Is it instantaneous or?
So it literally, we would search the property, it would come back within a couple of seconds and, display the title or list of titles, you choose which ones you want. And then I would say within 10 seconds, it's there on the site. Yeah.
In terms of getting started as well, there's no barrier to entry in terms of that sort of investment as well when you're sort of considering whether to take on a new piece of prop tech, because we offer a pay-as-you-go option. So you can just sort of dip your toes in, test it on a couple of properties as well. So
sounds fantastic. So an agent, if they want to know whether that's going to work, it's going to help them win instructions, but also get through. And we touched on it earlier, but that whole there's one part of our process as estate agents that we sometimes have no control over, and that's once we hand it over to the solicitors to start batting it about. But I think there are now things and products that we can use in order to simplify that process as well. And some of it is the quality of the information that we ourselves pass down the line to the solicitors, particularly when you're drawing up a sales memo. If there's something that is glaringly obvious on those title deeds, you're going to want to point that out at that point, I would imagine.
Yeah, 100%. So you're right, David. You're not only just sending a memo of sale over now. Within Veya, you get the registered, the official copy of title, official copy of plan. And because that's time and date stamped by Land Registry, conveyancers will accept it because it's come from a trusted source. And you can obviously also highlight key points in there, like, for example, be aware there's a declaration of trust. So the bank of mum and dad lent some funds and it's showing they've got an equitable interest, because all of these things have got material impact. You know, within Veya as well, we do ID and being AML. So equally, when you get a buyer coming to the table, or seller or vendor, we can do the full source of funds checks. And it all starts to marry up then, because we understand the lender who's coming. Will that lender lend on possessory title? So even though it's not, you know, we're not crossing the line into conveyances, there's so much you can do up front that just, you know, just gives yourself an easier ride, basically.
So it's an instruction winner. It's a tool to get a better fee at the end of the day, because you're going to be justifying your worth. It's going to speed up your sales process. It will potentially cut through your fall through rate as well, and it's going to help support your sales progression process. It makes you look younger and more beautiful. My hair's grown back since we started talking about it. Is there anything it can't do?
Can't brew up. Can't make a cup of tea yet.
A good brew is very hard to find in estate agencies. That's what I've learned over my lengthy career. Absolutely superb, though, that we now have these tools, because this is the point. For years, we have very much been reliant on our own local knowledge, and there is, to a certain extent, we're riding that wave and sort of a little bit making up as we go along. We now can go into a property from day one, armed with information and data that is there going to wow the vendor, but also it's going to underline what we already know, that estate agents can add value to a sale, that there is a reason why we charge what we charge, and that it's a worthwhile charge as well. So it's a superb product. Welcome to the marketplace. I think it's going to be a very interesting sort of 12 months we've got ahead of us anyway, both in terms of what the market does, but also in terms of the material information that estate agents are going to have to start working into their listings. And it kind of starts at the granular level, which is right all the way back at the deed. So I can't think of a better product to help you get on top of it.
Very much. Thank you, David.
There you go. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Look forward to it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, David.
Bye.